I'm Peter Sidwell and welcome to my cookery school. Today I want to talk to you about bread. It's not that scary. It's really quite easy to make. You just need to break it down into simple stages. Allinson Flour have created 3 fabulous recipes. A wholemeal dough, a white dough and an olive oil dough. Follow these and my top tips and you'll be creating amazing breads at home every day. So first thing, yourself a bowl. Sit it on some scales and zero it, okay? Now it's really important to use bread flour. This has got a higher protein level in it and it means it's got more gluten in there to activate, and that'll mean your dough will be fabulous and stretchy, and that's what holds all the air in as the bread's proving. So really important, bread making flour. So 500 grams. Allinson bring yeast out in 7-gram sachets. This is exactly how much you need for a loaf of bread. So it's easy. 500 grams of flour, 1 yeast sachet. So straight in. Now it's really important that you put the yeast at one side of the bowl, okay? Because then when we add our salt, we add that to the other side. Because yeast and salt absolutely do not like each other. If you put them in direct contact with each other, it'll kill the yeast and your dough will not rise at all. So yeast that side, salt that side. So we're just going to add a little bit of sugar there, and that's going to feed the yeast quickly, and it's going to help that bread rise right up and really give us a lovely aeration. You'll get fabulous little air pockets in the dough. Okay, so now we've got our sugar, yeast and salt in there. Use your hand like a claw motion, and we're going to blend all those dry ingredients together. So just roll your hand around the bowl, and we'll get it blended in there. Little well in the middle. And then we're just going to add a little bit of melted butter in there. That's going to make the dough lovely and soft. And then 300 mils of water. You don't need warm water. Cold water will do the job just as well. Okay? So we're going to pour the water in. I'm just going to pour about 3/4 in. Get my hand like a claw motion again. And then we're just going to start to roll your hand around the bowl. Okay? We're just reenacting that same motion that an electric mixer would do. And just roll it around until you start to get a soft dough. Add the rest of the water in. I always do it this way because you can always add in. You can never take away, okay? 300 mils of water straight in. And then continue to roll your hand around the bowl. Okay, there we go. Look, 1 ball of dough and 1 bowl clean of any dough. It's all on your hand. That's its way of telling you it's ready to start kneading. So, with kneading, you don't need any extra flour. Just put the dough down and then just start to work it. Hold it with one hand and stretch the dough as far as you can. And what you'll find is when you first start to knead, the dough will tear really quickly, like this. Okay? But the more you knead, the more you activate the gluten in there, the more stretchy the dough will become. And there's lots of ways to see your progress. And what you'll find is the more I stretch this dough now, the further across the dough will stretch before tearing. So I'm going to knead this now for 5 to 10 minutes. Just keep working, hold the dough with one hand, push the dough away with your primary hand and just roll it back over itself. So you can see by kneading this bread, it's become nice and smooth and manageable. So it's ready to prove now. So just take the dough and turn it under itself, okay? Until you've got a nice ball of dough. And then take a tiny little bit of oil. You just need a drop in there. Pop that in and then just rub your hand around. And now we've put the dough in there. That just means it will slide out really, really easily after it's proved. So, pop some cling film on. You don't want the dough to dry out. And then we're going to leave that there for a couple of hours or until it's at least doubled in size. So this dough has had 2 hours. It has proved up and you can see it's doubled in size. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to break this open, and straight away you can smell that amazing kind of fermented yeasty smell. The aroma is absolutely fabulous, and because we've given it that time, we've developed the flavour even more. So just scoop the dough out, and it'll be quite sticky, don't worry, and just get all that dough out. Same as we did before on the first kneading, we're just going to stretch the dough, work it, and get all that air out from the first prove. Because what we want is a nice, even, final prove. And the way to do that is to knock all the air out. So all we need to do is just turn the dough over itself. Okay, so you have a nice smooth top to the dough. So as the dough proves up, it just gets that lovely even rise. So loaf tin, nice and simple, non-stick. But I always like to just add a touch of flour on the bottom, and it just helps make sure that it pops out. So carefully pick your dough up. You don't really need to shape it when you're using a loaf tin, because it will just find its way in the tin and form that shape. Okay, so just pop it in. Stretch it out a little bit, and that's it. Just a little bit of flour in your hands, and then you can just nudge it into the corners. I'm now going to leave that to prove until it doubles in size. Not in an airing cupboard, just in the kitchen. It's time to go in the oven. So I've got my oven preheated, 180 degrees. This is a fan oven. If yours isn't, do it at 200, nice and hot. Okay, so I want a lovely crispy crust on this, and the way to get that is just to spray the top with a little bit of water. And what that does is, as it bakes, it evaporates and it crackles and it gives you a beautiful crust. So straight in the oven, and then to give it that extra lift, add some more water into the oven as well. Steam makes the bread rise and pop up, gives a lovely bake. So pop that in the oven. It will now bake for maybe 20-25 minutes till it's doubled up in size and it's lovely and golden and crisp. So look, the bread is lovely and crispy. You remember that water that we put in the oven to help get that crust? We've got to get that back out of the oven now, and the only way is just to leave the door open for about 5 minutes. Let those beautiful bread smells waft around your house. You cannot buy that smell in an air freshener. This is the real deal. And what it'll do is let that steam out, and that means the bread will keep its crust. This bread is now done. The final way to check is just really carefully take your bread and just, with your oven cloth, just tip it out. There we go. And what you need to listen for when you tap it, that's it. You want to hear that nice sort of hollow type sound. And that means most of the moisture's out of the bread and it's fully cooked all the way through. And look at that beautiful crust. That's what I'm talking about. Putting that steam in there makes the difference. Takes your bread from one level to the next. Those are my top tips for making even better bread at home. For all the recipes, go to the Allenton page on the bakingmad.com website and rise to the challenge of making even better bread at home every day.